Hi, and welcome to another episode of the My Dog Made Me Do It Naturally podcast. Today, I am joined by Dr. Jeff Feinman. Hello, Dr. Jeff. How are you doing today?
Hello, Kat. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to come here and chat with me about holistic pet health. So for all my listeners who may not know who Dr. Jeff is, which I think you probably will do if you're in my space, Dr. Jeff is a holistic veterinarian. He has a background rooted in conventional veterinary medicine with both molecular biology and veterinary degrees, but also practices homeopathy and clinical nutrition in his practice. He has developed his holistic approach that goes beyond integrating holistic veterinary medicine to innovating holistic veterinary medicine, which integrates his scientific and homeopathy knowledge to improve companion animal health. Dr. Jeff is a much respected leading figure in the national and international movement for holistic approach to pet wellness and care. He is a Chief Empowerment Officer and founder of Holistic Actions, Chairman of the Academy of Homeopathy Education Committee, President of the AVH and Holistic Actions Foundations, and was previously the Holistic Medical Director for On the Wings of Angels Rescue. Jeff and his wife Amy live in Connecticut, USA with their rescue pup Maya, Marie, and two rescue kitties, Tiggy and Aviva. He is the author of many published papers, and his first book, The Path to Pet Wellness, is due out this year. How exciting! Do you have a release date for the book, Dr. Jeff?
I do, and thank you so much for mentioning that right out the bat. The book will be in the hands, or at least the framework will be in the hands of HA members by the fall, but it won't be in bookstores until Valentine's Day of next year, actually.
Oh,
Because
wow.
the framework is based on the power, the energy of love. So that's why.
Wow, that's fabulous. I bet that's such an exciting book. I'm gonna have to kind of keep my eyes peeled.
You'll have your copy before the end of the year, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. Okie dokie. So the first question I always like to ask all of my guests is, did you always aspire to be a holistic veterinarian?
Can I answer with one word, no? I didn't even know there was such a thing. I mean, I was raised in a holistic household with mom in the 60s that read a magazine called Prevention Magazine, and we were always naturally oriented, but no, in school, in academia, I had no inclination towards holistic medicine. It was all about how the way the body worked, molecular medicine, molecular biology, which was just actually at that point getting its name and was being defined as a field of study of how the body reacts to what's around it.
Yes.
So the first decade of my practice was purely conventional.
So was there sort of like a point in time where you kind of then started to seek out more holistic practices, or what was it that kind of changed things for you?
Yeah, I guess if I started with my observing that my patients were recovering from their acute problems, but then their chronic issues would just keep coming back. And then one day, a client in Greenwich, Connecticut, had a severe rheumatoid arthritis, mentioned that her rheumatologist recommended something out of the box called fish oils. Fish oils and omegas were not something I had ever learned about in vet school. And when I began investigating it, that opened Pandora's box. And P.S. My client went on to dramatic improvement with fish oils that she had not gotten by the drugs, which is why her rheumatologist recommended the fish oils, because she had already failed methotrexate and all the anti-inflammatories.
Wow. Yeah. So it is funny how just some kind of small event does lead on to, such a wealth of exploration and everything like that into everything you're achieving now. So because today I want to talk about the human bond specifically. and why that's so significant for our pets, kind of just health and recovery and everything like that. But before we begin with that discussion, can you just explain to me what is scientific wellness and P for veterinary medicine, which is something, which, is kind of like included in your approach, isn't it?
It is. And actually, it's the basis of the approach, because scientific wellness is a conventional framework of 4Ps, or P for medicine, personalized medicine. And this applies to people. This is the framework for people that we're using for animals. Personalized, predictive, preventative, and participatory. And those 4Ps are the bottom line of the way that I think good medicine should be practiced for animals and people. And the goal of personalized medicine, for example, is something that we've attained to for years in human medicine. We've realized over the years that, it's not about genetics, it's not about drugs, that it's not really feasible to achieve personalized, but we can achieve what they call now precision medicine. So we can precisely target certain mechanisms in the body, but as we'll discuss, it's all more than targeting mechanisms and fighting against the body.
Yeah. So ideally, well, like now, conventional care is allopathic, isn't it? So it treats the symptom as well. Whereas, which I suppose is not a very personalized approach, because it focuses on, like you say, the mechanism and how to stop a certain mechanism from happening, or how to, start a certain mechanism, which doesn't actually take into account the pet before you and their environment as well. Which, yeah, that's fantastic. So, okay. So you firmly believe that the human bond, now correct me if I'm wrong, but you firmly believe that the human bond is particularly significant in aiding our pets' healing, in a sense that in order to promote healing, we as their pet parents and guardians must harness compassion with our pets. So can you first go deeper into this a bit for me and explain exactly what it means to harness compassion with our pets to help them with their health issues and general life vitality, for that matter?
Thank you for asking. That's a great question. And I'm going to take a step back, I think, from answering the question directly to define the path to pet wellness and how the framework that we're going to talk about works and why the bond is so important. And basically, it's all based on molecular mechanisms that allow us to heal, that allow our pets to heal. And the bottom line is flow of energy. It's a flow of information between cells, between organs, body, that allows a proper function of all the body parts. And symptoms, abnormal symptoms, result when those parts are not working properly. And the one big thing that allows every cell to function is the one big thing that we don't focus on in veterinary medicine. And in fact, we didn't learn much, if anything, about in vet school, and that is energy. We learn about cells, we learn about molecular mechanisms, we learn about all the physiological stuff going on in the body. But all of that stuff is secondary to the energy flow in the body. So I'll just give you one quick example. No energy, no life. Energy, life. You may be sick, but you're alive. If you don't have energy, you're not alive. So thoughts, heart, our entire body emits energy all the time. Bond that we share with our pets can either be one that impedes their energy flow or helps their energy flow smoothly. And when their energy flows smoothly, they operate like they should. Nature intends. I mean, one of the things that we know is that nature will always rebalance, that it's always focusing on rebalancing. And our animals are no different. And part of the reason why the bond is so important is that our worry, our fears, our worrying about the future or what is right in front of us is going to affect the energy flow in our pets as well as our own energy flows. So there are 3 legs of the stool that face the path to pet wellness, but then there are 3 actions that bring it all to life. that we teach pet parents. One of them is called the conscious compassion communication method. And and that will, I think, will address your question. And I'm gonna do so with a story. And that is our rescue dog, Maya, who's now asleep next to me. Such angels when they're asleep. But she's a teenager. When she's awake, not as much of an angel. But when we rescued her 4 months ago, at the age of 4 months of age, she was unsocialized 100%. She had all of her puppy shots every 2 weeks. She had rabies. She got spayed. She had antibiotics and drugs. This is all before 12 weeks of age. We adopted her at 16 weeks and she was so fearful. She couldn't even walk in the house. She couldn't walk through a door. She was like, what's going to happen to me? I mean, so just pure fear. Our treatment for her was developing that bond. That was it. We did nothing pharmacological, nothing, she was put onto a species appropriate diet, which dogs is a raw meat diet, but that's neither here nor there. They can eat almost anything, but it does need to be what they enjoy. So in her case, she loves kibble. I mean, her treats are still, origin kibbles, which is just the kind of dog food. But the treatment was just telling her how much we love, support, and see her as balanced well-being. And here we are 4 months down the line. So she was about 4 months when she came, and now she's about 8 months. The fears are 80% better. She loves people. She loves everything, does everything. Is she wary still? Sure. Could it take time? Sure. But, I've had a bunch of dogs in my life, and I've never been bonded with the dog the way that I have with her because of just months and months and months of trying to support her as the universal being that we know that she can be.
Yeah.
Instead of being worried about, oh my God, she's afraid, we need to worry about this, we need to worry about that. So it was our bond, our love that we shared that allowed us to start to trust me. And it's allowing both of our energy flows and for symptoms to go away. I'm going to bring homeopathy into it for 1 second because we're talking about working with the body by bonding, by loving. Because really the closest bond is love. There's love for the environment, love for nature, love for ourselves, love for our spouses, our pets. Just that energy of love is going to allow symptoms to resolve because smoother energy flow. Now, in Maya's case, she also had physical symptoms of like severe diarrhea. She had Giardia and other worms when she was, before I got her. Severe diarrhea, GI upset, blah, blah, blah. So ended up giving her homeopathic medicine. Well, after that homeopathic medicine, her symptoms got better. Her behavior started to get better. But she developed what looked like a mast cell tumor, a tumor on her shoulder. That tumor was her body's way of expressing or detoxing all the stuff that was going on internally. And when it was just left alone, when we just said, oh, what a nice tumor you've got, in time it just went away. And again, she's just getting better and better and better. And now she can eat any food at any time. And her poops are perfect. Goes everywhere, does everything. Of course, we're still working on socializing her. So yeah, that bond is essential, and we'll get further into what that means, what happens when that bond is maybe broken a little bit.
Yeah, that's so lovely though as well, isn't it? Because I think, as you say, the society as we know it, we're so focused on trying to fix the problem that it just kind of becomes like we need to find a way to fix this, rather than just kind of taking a step back and looking at what's actually needed in this situation. So rather than kind of like going down a traditional route of, oh, let's see a behaviorist and let's look at anti-anxiety medication, which is a traditional approach commonly today, it's just so lovely that you can kind of get amazing results just by kind of just being there for them as well, which I do think a lot of people would benefit from as well, you know, taking this approach with themselves and with other people as well. You know, it's just so lovely. So that obviously illustrates just how important it is to have that bond, and especially when we're kind of helping rescue dogs as well. But so how can pet parents at home look at the bond with their dog and know if they need to work on it, or, you know, like what kind of things can they do at home to help them?
My goodness, that is the basis for everything that we teach at Holistic Actions, what the pet health is all about mindful pet care. It's all about those 4 Ps. So I guess I'll start at the beginning. The beginning is, and this is the beginning of the answer to your question, how do we know? What do we do? And it begins with something called BEAM. BEAM is an acronym for behavior, energy, appetite, and mood. And we can think of it like the conscious beam from the sun, this beam of light. You can think of it like a balance beam because the beam allows them to stay in balance. Tractor, you can think about it like the tractor beam. It beams its wellness. It's the beam that shines light on better health. So the answer to your question about how we know their bond may need some work or how there is an issue there, their beam. Are they having high beam? Is their beam an 8, a 9, or a 10 out of 10? And are there any physical symptoms? So I'll give you an example. I'm in a dog training class, a foundation class. Maya, one of the dogs there, has a I bond with the guardian of the dog, but the dog barks nonstop. I mean, that is just with trainer after trainer after trainer. Now, dog's firing muscles, so we're going to bark and blah, blah, blah. It's very, very clear that it's the bond, that there's something going on either energetically with the individual, that they're worried about this, that it's bothering them, instead of going with the flow. Going with the flow is going to help the bond, it's going to help reduce the symptom, and it's going to elevate the beam. So that would be, for example, about a dog that has other symptoms like a red ear or itchy skin or can't tolerate one dog food or another. The reality is that a dog should be able to eat any food that you offer it. It may get, looser poops than when it had another food. It should rebalance, and it will rebalance, but there may be an obstruction, and that obstruction may be something in the bond. So and the way you can raise that beam up and know more about the bond is something called the happiness protocol. The happiness protocol is based on the flow of energy in the body that allows all the symptoms, all the cells to work at their optimum. So whether we're talking about barking, whether we're talking about a tumor, whether we're talking about a red ear, skin, any physical, behavioral, or other symptom, you can help reduce that through the happiness protocol. And the happiness protocol is about as simple as it gets, and anyone can do it right away. And it starts by finding out what makes your pet happiest. For a lot of dogs, it's food. Playing outside with other dogs. For a lot of dogs, it's being with their people and getting petted or loved up. I guess I could say that dogs, their higher purpose is to eat, play, or love. They eat, play, and love. And with Maya, loves to eat, but she loves other dogs even more. I mean, she loves to play. That's probably what she was born in the shelter. All she knew were other dogs and being with other dogs. So we're going to go back to her fears. One of her fears was new people, cars, noises, all those things combined. But she loves to play and she loves other dogs. So I had a group called Active Dog come over where they would evaluate the dog and see if maybe she can come to an outdoor play group with another dog. She saw them drive up, she saw the person get out of the van, she just freaked out. She just started trembling, hiding behind me, and
Yeah.
But then Lenny got out of the truck. Lenny, the dog, got out of the truck. And Maya right away, right up, lost all of her fear, went and played with Lenny for 20 minutes, was fine with the person. She was just perfect.
Yeah.
Because that was her happy place. Playing
Mm.
Lenny was her happy place. You know, my dog before this was food. And happiness protocol actually started. This is Archie, by the way. Archie, who brought me Maya up, and that's another story. That's Archie when I adopted him.
Oh,
And
he's a
he brought me,
cutie.
yeah, it's so sweet. He brought me the happiness protocol and Beam and Maya. But that's a story for another day. So what you can do is you can find out what they love the most. You double what you do, because most people say, oh, he loves to eat, we already give him food, or he loves this, we already do this, but double it or triple it, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The third step is just to evaluate the effect, and you can evaluate it more objectively by using the Beam score, but you may also be able to evaluate it by the fact that their appetite will improve, red ear will improve, their symptoms will begin to improve, they'll begin to want to go on walks again instead of staying huddled in the house. So that was a very long-winded answer to what.
No, that's wonderful. That is such a lovely way to look at it, because one of the things that I find, well, one of the things that I'm quite big on is to kind of help pet parents look beyond the bowl, because I mean, a lot of pet parents come to me for help with natural nutrition because they want to feed their dogs, a species appropriate diet. But holistic health is much more than just nutrition, isn't it? It's about our dog as a dog, as a species, but also as a companion in our life as well. And I always try to illustrate that. When you look at a dog and how they are naturally designed, their innate behaviors and desires and needs, when you put them in a human life, a lot of those are restricted or completely removed, which obviously, a lot of dogs can seem or at least appear to cope with that quite fine. But, when you when you look deeper into things and you start to give some of these things back to dogs, like their choices and, the things they love, basically chances to be a dog and do what they want to do, then their health does dramatically improve as well, which is, it sounds, the Beam and the happiness protocol is just exactly that, but the power of your own home as well, isn't it? I love that. I'm going to try that with my dogs. So thank you for sharing that.
All right, just can say you're welcome. That's my mission is just to bring that to everybody that lives with a dog or a cat or horse, or is based on that compassionate and conscious communication that we have with ourselves, with our animals, and with nature.
Yeah.
It starts, and we'll get into this maybe a little more, but it starts by listening.
Exactly.
What we're going to tell you, and you talked a little bit about choice. That is exactly how we supported my first couple of months. We just followed her body. But if she was scared, we let her be scared. If she wanted to do something, we just let her do that. She didn't want to go in the crate. She didn't go in the crate. It's my first dog ever in my life that sleeps in my room, not in a crate.
Yeah.
She chose a chair. She sleeps in a chair. I mean, dogs are not supposed to be sleeping in a chair. Well, that is what she wanted. She's terrified by certain things, or she was terrified by things like going into a crate or into a car or into a room. Or now those things don't terrify her, but we are still working with a teenager.
Yeah.
So she's got a little ways to go.
Yeah. And a teenager that's already been through so much as well, because that makes all the difference, doesn't it? Those early life experiences as well. So this kind of like brings me into the next question, which is based around obviously building trust, because a lot of your work, you do talk about trust and natural healing in a way that trust between us and our pets is what helps to build resilience for them. So can you explain what you mean by resilience and how trust is important for building this?
Wow, you're cutting right to the chase. Oh my goodness. Seriously, I don't think you know how deeply you're going. Yeah, that is what it's all about, actually. It's about, go back to that smooth energy flow, and that smooth energy flow is there because you don't block it. You don't use the antis, you don't use fear, you don't use anxiety, and that's what a dog feels. That's what they manifest when they don't trust you fully. So I have a framework we discussed in the book a little bit called the Love Fast framework. That's the way to get fast results, but it's based on love, and it's another acronym. Unfortunately, I'm full of acronyms. Whether it's
acronyms, they're great. Yeah, they're great. They're great, and they help you remember stuff as well. So they're fantastic.
That is how I remember things.
Keep them coming.
So love, we know what love is. Love is that heartfelt compassion that connects all of life. FAST is an acronym that starts with conventional veterinary medicine, where we stand right now, and that is F, or fear. We are taught to be afraid of what can happen, be afraid of the future, be afraid of the consequences, be afraid of the drugs that we're using because it may cause side effects. Then go from that fear, then go to the A of accept. Whether you're fearful, whether you're like, whatever, just accept the feeling for what it is. Accept your dog for whatever they're manifesting. And then, and I got that wrong. A stands for aware. Sorry about that. Be aware of that fear. Be aware of whatever they're feeling. And then that's or surrender, which is kind of the same thing.
Okay,
surrender to that feeling and trust. T, or trust. Trust that the body is designed to rebalance. Trust that the universe has your back. Trust that we are loving beings unless we get in the way of that love, that flow of energy, and we don't need to be afraid of living in the future or afraid of the past. And our animals are, in this brings us back to the bond, our animals are the most amazing vehicle to come into the present moment. The present moment is the very best way to dispel that fear, because that fear, which is a reaction to what might happen, what are the consequences, what if. And our animals are in the moment, they've done what I would say that we should do, what Eckhart Tolle says we would do if we just come to our senses, just use our senses to decide on what is happening in the now, in the moment. And that is where our animals live, the world, the sensory world, the world all around them. They're not worried about what might happen. They're not worried about the past. She doesn't care that she was a rescue dog that got spayed before she was, when she was 12 weeks of age. And we're working beyond that, because her symptoms are a result. There was diarrhea, there was the red ears that she had, the itchiness, the tumor, the diarrhea. Those symptoms were a result of that fear of working against the natural flow of energy in her body. Because once we restore that flow through trust, through bonding, through acceptance, she will be as good as she can be. We know that to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely resonate with that, because yourself from, because obviously we go through life and we have our own experiences, we have grief, we have intense moments of happiness, and the way that we function now as individuals, it's easy because there's so many distractions, phones, TVs, all that kind of stuff, that I think most of the time people are distracted thinking about something or somewhere else than where they are right now. Sort of like when they're working, they're probably thinking about what they're going to do later, or where they're going to go at the weekend, or where they're going to go on holiday. That just like one of the daily practices that I follow is, like, at the end of the day, because I don't get to spend enough time with my dogs as much as I'd like. I'm at home with them, which I'm very fortunate enough to be, but I would like to spend more time with them, focusing on them, than what I have time for at the moment. So at the end of the day, I always, my phone goes off at about 8 p.m. anyway, as a general rule, because, that's just kind of like phone goes down at 7 p.m. until 7 the next morning. I have a 12-hour phone ban on myself just to kind of, you know, bring a bit more peace into life. But and then I literally sit down with the dogs and I do nothing but look at them and talk to them and just absorb them and sniff them, you know, and just kind of just love them in the moment. And I love it and they love it. And that's just one of the things we do every day. And it's that connection, you can tell, because they know when you're present with them and when you sat next to them on your phone, you know, because you can be sat next to them stroking them, but be on your phone and they'll know that you're not actually present in the moment with them. And it's stuff like that, isn't it? I think. Is that right?
That is, again, that's right beautifully said and right on the mark. And it brings us back to your question about resilience that we didn't address directly, but I want to go and start first with what you just said, because we have seen, and there are actually scientific studies that show that just looking at, just paying attention, being focused on another individual, on a dog, on a cat, is going to improve their resilience, can improve their energy flow. So yeah, even if you can't play with your dog, at least just look at them, call their name, let them know that you're thinking about them. It makes a big difference. It really does. And of course, the more focused time you can spend petting or meditating or just sitting out on the lawn with your dog or cat on your lap is gonna benefit you both. And resilience, and what that's going to do is make their immune systems function as they're designed to function, as well as they can function. Which means you don't need to be worried about germs. You don't need to be worried about parasites because they're all around us all the time. Our immune systems are surveilling the situation. It's called immune surveillance for a reason. Surveilling the situation and destroying those bugs before they can be harmful. So we don't need to worry about that. We just need to focus on love, happiness, energy flow, and our immune systems will be surveilling the situation in the background. We don't have to worry about, you know, are my white blood cells doing the job right now?
Yeah.
So resilience. Sorry.
No, go on.
Resilience is actually the opposite of one of the, if you remember, I mentioned the 3 legs of the stool that are the foundation of the path to pet wellness that we're talking about. One of them is susceptibility. Susceptibility is the opposite of resilience.
Yeah.
So susceptibility is the question reframed of, why did your dog get sick in the first place? What happened? What is out of balance that allow the immune system to not do its job properly? So the question is not, how do we get rid of the germ? But the question becomes, why did we develop that immune? Why did they develop that immune imbalance that allowed the germ to invade the body or regrow?
Yeah.
So susceptibility really applies to not just germs, but toxins, foods, all life around us. There are people that are so susceptible to everything that they virtually have to live in a bubble. There is no exposure to EMFs or outside air or via, you know, volatile chemicals or, you know, anything. They have to live out in the middle of nowhere in an enclosed bubble to stay healthy. Because they are the opposite of resilient, they are susceptible to all of the things all around them. And I'm going to bring us back again to scientific wellness. This is scientifically defined by something called the exposome. The exposome is what the genome isn't. So the genome was supposed to be how we could practice personalized medicine. You know, we know what your genes are, so we can give you the right things. And we still do that to some degree with chemotherapy drugs. We start other drugs. You know, Embark is doing a great job. I have all my dogs screened by Embark. So that's how we know Maya's 8 breeds. But we also know she's prone to copper deficiency. But all these things are on the physiological level, and the genetics is the basis of that. The exposome So the genome is what genetics is all about. The exposome is how the body reacts to every exposure in the world, whether it's a germ, whether it's a toxin. What if the food is? It defines the molecular mechanisms in molecular biology terms of what's going on in the body. So I can actually testify by a tool in a lab what molecules are varying because of an exposure that you had in the air or in the food. And we can't do that in dogs yet. But, the foundation is there in the beam, scientific wellness, in all the things that we can do that basically are doing the same thing as have been done for thousands of years throughout the world with every indigenous culture. They all are based on the same framework. It just so happens that we are blessed to live in a time when science and spirituality are coming together.
Yeah.
And our animals are the number one benefit aside from us.
Yeah, I think I probably speak for a lot of people when I say that diving into how to care for our pets in such a way often leads to better health for us as well, because I know, and I can say confidently that learning about my dogs and their health and everything about their food system and everything like that has made me change my whole life. So now we're all on this path together, and it all started with them, which is fantastic. But I love how we can use science to that advantage, and we should do, because we have that tool available. There's no reason why we can't combine the technologies of today with the ancient wisdom. Like, why not? Sorry, what were you going to say?
I didn't know what your time frame is here today, but I wanted to bring up the one most important thing that actually may be a block to what you're describing, which you're right, there's a perfect connection between scientific and the spiritual. However, the one block is your empowerment as a pet parent. You may walk into a veterinarian and say, look, I know that my Native American teacher, and my homeopath and my herbalist are able to help with these individual problems. Then you go to your veterinarian and they say, well, that's not scientific. That's really not the way things work.
Yeah.
And from our framework, that is exactly right. But we as conventional vets see about that much of the bigger framework. And I'm just going, I don't know if we're video or not, but the fraction of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's up to you. You know your dog's the best. I may diagnose a condition, but what that has done is put us right into the fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is being limited by that diagnosis, by that symptom. You as a pet parent can live in the opposite of fixed is the growth mindset, but I call it the regrowth mindset, because the regrowth is nature is designed to do. I'm looking outside at trees that are devoid of leaves, that are brown, that look dead. Within a couple of weeks, it can all come back to life. Well, animals can do the same thing. If they're sick, they can heal. You just need to be empowered with the information that there is a scientific way to do that.
Yeah, I'm laughing because what we were just talking about a moment ago as well, about kind of the immune system is like, well, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's close to the best thing in the world, because it can shut down, well, I suppose it shuts down cancer cells when it's got the right tools to do so. And like you say, it can shut down a parasite before it takes hold when it's got the right tools to do so. And a lot of what I do, specifically on social media, is I talk about how I don't use monthly chemical treatments with my dogs, and sometimes I get absolutely hammered for it, saying that it's all a lie. You can't use natural preventatives. There's no such thing as preventing fleas, ticks and worms without using chemicals. And I think what the problem is people are missing the bigger picture. It's not just about taking any dog and not using the chemicals. It's about making sure you've got things in place to support the immune system in the first place. they've got the mental health there, they've got the positive energy flow, they've got the nutrition that's going to enable their immune system to be that effective, which again, I think is, when we talk about some of the gaps that we've got in the world at the moment, is one of the things that we need to try and kind of work on, isn't it? And it's all about the wholeness of everything, which is, I'm going to go into something else now. So as part of your efforts to help educate and inform pet parents on how to better care for their pets, you have designed the vitality and balance system, haven't you? So is that similar to what you've already been describing, or is that something different?
That is one of them. I mentioned 3 legs of the stool, foundation. And they're the 3 actions that we can use to make those legs as strong as possible. One of them is the VBS, the vitality, another acronym, vitality and balance system. Vitality and balance system is the science part of beam. The other 2 actions are follow the beam and use conscious and compassionate communication with your animals. That's it. But the vitality and balance system, and now I actually have connected in my own head, why did I develop that in the first place? And that the reason was because I'm firmly rooted in science stuff. I wanted there to be a bridge.
Yeah.
In science. At that point, actually, when I developed VBS, it wasn't even about spirituality. It was just about homeopathy, that there should be a bridge. So the vitality and balance system is just modern medicine and modern science applied to Ayurveda, applied to the principle of balance, applied to TCM, applied to homeopathy, all these frameworks that are based on balance. And it's a system that describes the way the body works. That's it. I sat down with an internist, a veterinary internist, when I developed the VBS. And after an hour, he said, "Wow, it's great. That covers everything. But now what do we do with it?" And that was that question defined the rest of my life, because that's when I realized that we don't have any tools for, we have nebulous ways of, well, use a better diet and do that. So yeah, that's when Holistic Actions was born, as a way of empowering pet parents with the tools that use VBS. VBS is just scientific way to build vitality, which is the balance. That's what life is all about. That's what operating at best.
Yeah.
That's what biohacks are all about. They're all about trying to get us have the best vitality, which in science terms translates as the best mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are the tiny powerhouses in every cell that make energy. Without mitochondrial function, there would be no energy, there would be no life. It just so happens they came originally from bacteria, but that's a different story. So that's bacteria within us that allow us to live.
Yeah.
That's more the connection. That's more the love for everything all around us, including the germs, including the fleas. It takes the heartworms and spider in the corner, and but especially, as parents about our animals, especially about our dogs, that love is going to really make everything else work as best as it can. And that's what Love Fest is all about. You can go from fear to trust and get their bodies to work at their optimum. Just love and compassion and kind words. Gazing lovingly at your animal, petting them, giving them the best food that you can afford to give them, and letting them be themselves and not working against their bodies. That, unfortunately, is what medicine is based on, antis. And a word before word just means against.
Yeah.
So antibiotics are against life. Anti-inflammatories like steroids are against inflammation, which is the process of life.
Yeah.
We would not be alive. We would not be alive if it weren't for inflammation. Inflammation gets a bad rap. Chronic inflammation is the root of a lot of issues. The real root is why are you susceptible to that chronic inflammation in the first place?
Yeah.
You are susceptible to it because there's a block in the energy flow, which love will undo. Breathing, good food, good lifestyle, apathy.
Yeah, and it's for
And
us too as well, isn't it? Like, it's not when we talk about this is one of the things that I like most about having these conversations is because everything we talk about for our pets, we can actually do, like we do it with them. It's not like we have to just do it for them. We can be the same, adopt the same principles and the same positive mindset, and it absolutely changes your whole life as well. Like you just get, it's like a double whammy. It's a win-win because you're not just, yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I just again, and you just indirectly hit on core of what I'm about to talk about, which is positive psychology.
Yeah.
Positive psychology movement in people is the foundation for the happiness protocol. It's the foundation for the science that allows proper energy flow and proper function of the body. One of the founders of positive psychology, Marty Seligman from Penn, which is the vet school that I went to. So actually just so happens that I was there when they were developing positive psychology.
Wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic.
And positive psychology and flow were developing at the same time. In fact, Dr. Feinman was friends with and wrote a paper with the founder of flow, the system of flow. And now we're talking about a different kind of flow. It's a neuroscience of flow. It's based on the same principles that positive psychology, which is kind of what we're talking about. What I called last year, we had a summit called the Sacred Pause Summit, and it was all about positive and practical veterinary spirituality, or PPVS, to give you another acronym. The Sacred Pause Summit, which I realized now is something I'm replaying. Right now, it's being watched only by people within the Holistic Actions community membership area, but I hope here a link where people can sign up and watch that, as well, because that positive psychology is the basis for a happy life.
Yeah.
It just so happens that our animals are facilitators. Eckhart Tolle calls them our guardians of being. We're human beings, right? Well, we're actually more like human doings. Our dogs, and I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to show you the kitty cat as well. Our cat, our Zen mouse, show you the cat. But just showing cat, a cat. They are our guardians of our being happy, our being healthy, our being in our bodies, our being in the moment.
Yeah.
Starts with having a high beam so we can be our best beings when we have a high beam. I always report to my homeopath, he always asks me, how's your beam doing? Because if a physical symptom gets better and the beam gets worse, you're not healing from the inside. Your animal is not healing. So if that red ear gets better, but they stop eating, therefore their beam is getting worse, well, then that red ear may be gone, but there's still some going on with the energy flow.
Yeah.
So there's still a blockage. And I hate to break it to everyone, but as they heal, that red ear may actually return. The way the body detoxes is a process called housekeeping. So let's go back and clean up all of these older symptoms that were inappropriately treated in the past.
Yeah, sorry. No, go.
That's all based on the framework of homeopathy that's Samuel Hahnemann developed, which has been in medicine for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But Hahnemann, being the genius that he is, that he was, that he is, because he's still with us, in the energetic form, the way we're all about energy. Samuel was a scientific genius, a chemical master. He spoke Greek, Latin, like 10 or 12 languages fluently. He knew all the medical literature through the Greek, the Roman, the Hebrew, everything all together in a framework that matched conventional medicine of his time. Well, that framework applies now. We just need to tweak it a little bit. And that's all that I've done, actually. And it's also applying the same framework that we've lived with for thousands of years. We just didn't know anything about the exposome or the genome in the 1700s or the 500s. Yeah. And our animals, we have our animals to thank for a lot of that because they're in the now. They are a perfect manifestation of how easy it is to get back into that balance, that energy flow, that healing that will remove any anti-symptom, any symptom that is against the flow of that energy in the body.
Wow. So let me just recap. So we need to, so pet parents, in order to reach optimal health, all we need to do, because I'm going to say it this way, because this is really how simple it is, isn't it? And I think this is why people don't think that it is the truth or that it works, because it is that simple, is that we need to basically love our pets. We have to listen to them, observe them, get to know them, let them do what makes them happy, and be present in the moment with them. And that is how we can achieve optimal health. Is that right?
That is perfect. And I'm sitting here tearing up because of how beautifully you put that. And yes, thank you. We're gonna have you as one of our webinar guests. So you can reframe. People that have worked with me for years say, you really need a translator to translate what you're saying. So you just did a beautiful job of translation. So thank you.
No, that's fine. I think I'm laughing because I think that is one of the things that I don't know how to put it. It's kind of like, this is what the problem is that people think it's too good to be true because it is so simple. And this is, like, even if, this is what I say to people, even if you think it's, even if you think it's a load of codswallop, because it is so easy to do and it's not going to take you that much more time, it's not going to hurt you just to try it and just to see. And then if it doesn't work, you can, say, right, I've tried it, it didn't work. But because it is that simple, just at least try it, like you say, for 2 weeks and then tell me that it's wrong afterwards. Because, everyone that tries it sees a major difference. Because, I'm smiling because I studied psychology for my degree. So when I try to help pet parents, I do include a lot of the fixed mindset and growth mindset and trying to get them to unlock their own potential in viewing things differently. Because obviously when we look at something differently, it changes what we're looking at. And, all of it is about kind of just seeing things in a different way and having a bigger picture. And, this is what we need to do. We need to pay more attention to what we're actually focusing on and just kind of change the perspective a little bit. And like I say, even if you think I'm talking rubbish, just try it. And then, because I do get pushback from a lot of people saying, no, that won't work. I've done that won't work. And it's like, but there is just so much power in the energy. And it's like, one thing I wanted to mention earlier was, yourself how influential energy is, because if you've ever had like a big moment where you've been really scared or nervous, or you can feel the energy. Your mouth starts watering, you get butterflies in your stomach, and that's all about the flow of the energy as well, isn't it? So if you've got something going on in your personal life, or there's something going on in the home and the energy is kind of like not quite right, then it's all going to impact everybody in that environment, including your pets as well. And when you focus on it and you do restore that balance, as you say, with the vitality balance, that's when you can sort of like just breathe again. And, things just kind of like feel better, don't they?
Exactly. Beautifully said again. And I'll add one more piece into its energy, but it's also parasympathetic versus sympathetic. If you're in that stress mode, in that fight or flight mode, you're much more likely to be anxious and worried and energetically blocked. So one of the very first steps that I recommend is shift from sympathetic, or help your animal shift from that sympathetic, fearful, or anxious state to a happy, parasympathetic, or
Yeah.
healing state. And you just said the way to do that is love them, support them, get them outside. Just do it for 2 weeks. And that will be more than you need. I mean, I was on a podcast, actually it was Summit in Switzerland last year, and we were talking about this right afterwards. How the woman's pup felt vomiting. I said, fine, I'm going to give it a try. We're going to go out for a therapeutic sniff walk, which is what I call, just sniff walks. Therapeutic sniff walks because they are vomiting.
Yeah.
20 minutes in, they came home, the dog was fine. There was no more vomiting. There was a lot of sniffing, a lot of happiness, a lot of love, but no more vomiting. But yeah, the system works not just for energy flow indirectly, physical individual symptoms.
Yeah.
So give it a try. What we used to do with Archie was when he had a bad ear or a bad itch, or we'd offer him something to eat, and that state of love was all the to break the physical symptom. That's another acronym that I call it SOS, and that SOS is urgent, but it stands for significance of symptoms.
Yeah.
By knowing the significance, the true significance of a symptom, you can become better empowered.
Yeah.
Better interpret that symptom, not be scared of that symptom, but work with the underlying flow that will allow that symptom to resolve spontaneously.
Yeah. So coming away from trying to intervene with the chemicals and the suppression and all that kind of stuff, and really basically harnessing the power of, just supporting the pet through whatever they're going through. So powerful, isn't it, when we can do that? And when we can do that as pet parents at home, it's the most amazing thing. Sort of like, because now I'm sort of like 8 years into my journey, and I've got an epileptic dog, and I've got a dog who is, well, he doesn't have gut problems anymore because we kind of resolved them. And then I've just adopted a female staffy who has kind of like the recurring ear infection type situation, what we commonly see today in the itching. And I feel so confident in being able to manage them and support them through what we do at home. It just feels so amazing to have that confidence. But in order to kind of get there, you've got to start.
You're in that zone of trust. And that zone of trust is where there is no obstacle, there are no blocks. I mean, in the US, we have something called improv. I don't know if it's a worldwide thing, but improv is an improvisational comedy.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah.
Based on always saying yes and accepting the moment and then moving on. And some hilarity can ensue, but yes and is the way we can deal with and love our animals the best through all the physical, behavioral, and other issues or challenges. I don't even like calling them issues or problems. They're just challenges. Bring them up to the next level. It's like we were talking about the bugs, the flus, things that get us sick, that we say, I wish I didn't get that. But the reality is we know that our immune systems get stronger in the long run and become more resilient, less susceptible. So, yeah. I'm sorry. I did want to say one thing about improv, because there is an amazing book for people called Choose Growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a handbook written by a psychiatrist who is founded in positive psychology, also studied at Penn in the positive psychology department, got her map, as well as her psychiatry degree. Choose Growth is a guidebook for growing, for transcending your physical, behavioral, and emotional issues in people. Not for dogs, not a framework for dogs, but what we're talking about is the same framework. And the reason I mentioned the book is it's out now, and it's virtually the same framework for us that we're going to talk about in the path.
Wow. Well, what I'll do is I will find a link to that book and I will include it in the show notes. So if anyone's interested in checking it out, then they can do. Absolutely. I am a big fan of positive psychology. I've always been fascinated by psychology anyway, which is the reason why I studied it. But I do genuinely think as well that learning about it has helped me to deal with my own psychology. But okay, so I've got one more question because we're just about out of time, unfortunately. But my last question is why, well, you might need to explain what it is to start with, but why is holistic medical decision making so important? And what is the one piece of information a pet parent needs to harness its power?
Sorry, I was going to throw out another acronym for you. HMDM, which stands for Holistic Medical Decision Making, is the basis for what we teach because that is the way to become empowered, an empowered pet parent. And the first step of HMDM, it's a 3-step simple process, just like the happiness protocol. But the first step is to choose your goal, to define your goal. And the goal is almost always get them better from the emergency or the conventional. Always got Cushing's. The goal is get rid of the Cushing's or get rid of the urinary infection or get rid of this, or the number one thing in this kind of type of things together. Number one thing that I really, really want you and everyone in the world to know is that there is a different way to frame that situation. It's not the germ. It's not about getting rid of the Cushing's. It's not about that balance. It's about that vitality that we've been talking about. HMDM that I teach starts with what is your goal? Is your goal to promote deep healing? Is your goal to promote an energy flow? And if it's not, it's because you're trying to save life. It's because, you just do whatever you can do to get rid of the symptom. But be aware. My number one thing is be aware that that's what you're doing. That's how you can make a mindful decision because you know what all the options are. You may opt for conventional medicine instead of homeopathy, but just know homeopathy is out there. I know there are options, whether it's homeopathy or nature therapy or chiropractic. If you're conventionally oriented, if conventional medicine works for the problem that you're having, fantastic. But if it doesn't, if they failed, then the one thing I advise everyone is to have an open mind. Yeah. Be aware that there's another approach. To not give up. The reason I started HMDM was a pet parent contacted me because their dog had diarrhea. I'd seen 8 veterinarians, 3 internists. Nobody had recommended a raw or fresh diet. Fortunately, I didn't get back to them soon enough, so when I called them, they had put their dog to sleep because of the diarrhea. So it was having accidents in the house and nobody could do anything to stop it.
Wow.
All they needed to know was that there's another way. It's like they were getting the very best advice from their vet, from their internist, from their consultant, but they weren't getting different advice. So, they're getting lots and lots of second opinions, but no different opinions that reframe the information.
Yeah, it's sad because that happens quite a lot, doesn't it? I think as well, where pet parents get so kind of overwhelmed and stressed out with not being able to support their pets. Like, it is one of those sad situations because a lot of the people that come to me, I mean, I'm not nowhere near medically qualified to be a vet or anything. I help people with natural nutrition and changing the lifestyle in positive ways. But I think, a lot of the time they come because they've been in and out of conventional systems and tried different medications and nothing's working. Then they've heard that food might be okay and food might be a way that they can try and change things. And then that's when they land on in coming to help for me. And then sometimes all it takes is just changing the diet and the pets just completely turn around. And you think, thank the Lord that you found me, because where would you be now if you hadn't? And it's such a sad situation. My dog Lola that I adopted last year was going to be put to sleep because of her owner was just at the end of his tether with her ear infections, and the vets even offered to do it for free because they didn't have any answers for him. And I was just like, don't think so. I'm going to take her. Give it to me. And it just absolutely astounds me that this happens in the world, you know, and she just needs a little bit of love.
And that is why I am so very thankful for being here, for what you do, for all of the spreading of the word that you're doing. So just keep doing it. And I think we need an official movement. We need to call this a movement, and we need to get the word out about the movement, and then we'll all be on the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think we should. That's good. That's good. But thank you to you too for everything that you do. Now, you actually do have a community membership as well, don't you? Holistic Actions aims to teach, well, to empower pet parents in how they can adopt these approaches and help to support their pets at home, and hopefully give them enough of the right care so they don't develop these chronic conditions, because obviously that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about prevention and everything like that. So what I will do is, in the show notes, as I do with every episode, I'll include all of the links. So because you do actually have a free course on your website as well, don't you? What people can kind of, you know, get acquainted with to start with. And that is Pet Health 101, is it? I think. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So what I'll do for the listeners is I'll include links to all of that. I'll include links to Holistic Actions, to the Pet Health 101 course, and also information if they kind of want to learn more about you, Dr. Jeff. But thank you ever so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with me today. Maybe in the future we might be able to do another episode and delve deeper into one of the other million topics that we've got.
Yeah, I warned you going into this. It's all over the place. So yeah, I would love to spend time just focused on the love fast or compassionate communication or vitality and balance. The privilege to talk about it all in one package, it was just amazing. So thank you.
No, you're so welcome. I think, you know, and I speak on behalf of many pet parents when I say thank you for the contributions you bring to the holistic pet health world as well, because, I mean, from where I sit, there is a big divide between natural nutritionists and holistic health coaches and veterinarians, and holistic and integrative veterinarians are the ones who are bridging that gap at the moment, and you are pioneering the way for how we can move forward in working as a team with natural approaches and conventional care, because, you know, unfortunately, to some people it's two sides of a different coin. So thank you for, you know, being you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another great episode of the My Dog Made Me Do It Naturally podcast. Don't forget to check out the caption for any links discussed here today. And please, if you enjoyed the show, follow along and listen for free on your favourite podcast app. If you have any questions or would like to share your story, feel free to email me at mydogmademedoitnaturally@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Purpose of this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be substituted as advice from a veterinarian or other professional. It does not form a client relationship with me, the host, or any guest speakers, and any information is not intended to and does not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. My guests express our own views, thoughts, and opinions as individuals, and the podcast neither endorses or opposes the views, products, or services discussed here. If your pet is ill, always seek advice from your veterinarian. I am not a veterinarian and I do not treat disease or offer medical advice.